So this is the area around City Hall. This big building here is City Hall, and it was built around the 1850s. That was when Philadelphia was one of the largest cities, or was the largest city in the United States. Now, at the very same time, New York was starting to become larger, but still Philadelphia had a lot of economic power. So that's one of the reasons why I think they built it so large. And recently, they just kind of fixed the outside. It was a very dirty exterior. They had like a few-year restoration program to make the exterior back to the way it was. Now, part of the reason why the exterior had become a little dirty was because of the environmental issues in the 70s and 80s. And due to them now having a lot more cleaner emissions, the buildings in the area have it required less amount of maintenance to be able to keep the exteriors really nicely. But again, even though you have a beautiful exterior, it still takes work. So that was kind of like a once in a 50-year restoration, because they don't do restorations like the way they did for the City Hall every 10 or 15 years. It was a very major restoration work. So we're just taking a tour around City Hall just to see what it looks like, to be able to appreciate the beauty of it. Now, if you go to some other cities in Europe, you'll have city halls just as comparable to this. Now, by American standards, it's a massive city hall. And even inside, it's just huge. And they have courtrooms inside, offices. Now, you might look at the building and you might think it's one solid structure, but they actually have a center courtyard that allows for the exterior, but it's not as massive as it looks, but though it is massive. And relative to like a lot of other cities, it's really impressive going inside. Like high ceilings inside, a lot of space, and a lot of security too. Now, the good thing about this City Hall is that a lot of people take a lot of pride in it. Now, if you look here, you can see the statue of Benjamin Franklin up there. And for the longest time, what they had is an unofficial rule in Philadelphia where no buildings were going to be taller than that statue. And they did that until some developer came along in the 70s and said, well, I'm going to build a building much taller. And he did. And there were two buildings that he built that changed the way people did construction in Philadelphia. And it resulted in a burst of real estate development in Philadelphia. So we're just taking another tour around, and like this is so that everyone can have a look. Now you can see here, this is actually looking east on Market Street. So you can see in the distance all the different buildings that are here, and that's the Lowe's Hotel there, and there's the ARA Tower. You can just make it out. That's a large company headquartered in Philadelphia. It's a service company. And there's the Marriott Hotel. Makes it very convenient for people to stay around here. And you can see in here, like the inner courtyard. You know, we'll take a look at the inner courtyard too a little bit later. But this is just so that everyone has a better idea of what the city is like and what this area around City Hall is like. This is one of the tourist attractions too, when you're around City Hall, because it's one of the places that people want to see. And it's very centrally located. For example, in Philadelphia, they have 2 subways. And yes, compared to New York, that's very few subways in Philadelphia. But they serve a purpose, and they intersect basically in City Hall. There's one subway that's the Orange Line that goes north and south, up and down Broad Street. So it goes to the very south, and it goes to the very north of Philadelphia. And there's another line, the Market Street line, that also goes along the west, east and west route, which is very convenient. Again, both those lines intersect right here at City Hall. And it's kind of nice to see that. It makes it very convenient when someone comes to Philadelphia. However, there's a regional line too that people use. That's much more convenient too. But many people who live in the city, they've managed to also use the buses because that makes for a nice transportation too. So you really have to kind of decide what's important for you when you're in Philadelphia and how to travel around. It's more designed for those people who have cars, and this is like the Marriott Hotel here, or Courtyard Marriott, as you see. And Philadelphia is one of those cities that's kind of like a quasi city where you can live here without a car. That would be easy. However, a number of people choose to have cars, and that works for them also. Now here we're at the northeast corner of where the building is, and so you can see here another great view of the city. And as I said, that tower was the unofficial height, you know, for all the buildings in Philadelphia until the developer of that building there, the Penn Center, there were two of those buildings that were developed. You can see the other tower in the distance, decided that they were going to build a tower that was taller. And there was no rule against it. Officially, there was no height limit, you know, but that's why they decided to do that. But it's truly an impressive city hall though when you see it and when you actually go inside. So we're actually making a whole tour around the city hall just so that everyone can see what is around here. And so that when they choose, or when people choose, they can visit Philadelphia and see this tremendous building. And there's a lot of other things around here too. And it's just a matter of what people want to see and how they want to see it. So, you know, we're walking right next to this Masonic temple that's here. And you can see we're on the northern side. And in the distance, in the very distance, you can just make out Pennsylvania Station. That's a Pennsylvania Station that connects Philadelphia with New York, with Washington, with Boston. And so what happens a lot of times is people end up needing to go there to make some further connections to other parts of the country. But it's a very convenient city to be in. Now, this is the municipal building right here. And of course, it makes it convenient since it's right next to City Hall. And in the distance, you can just make it out. That's the Comcast Center. That is one of the tallest buildings in North America. And of course, Comcast Center, meaning it's owned by Comcast Corporation. But they spent a few years building it. And Philadelphia is very proud of it. And actually, the Comcast company is going to be constructing another equally as tall building in the next few years right next to it. And you can see the way Philadelphia is laid out. They have a lot of their big office towers on the western side of the city. And it's due to their interest in demographics and planning, urban planning, because it makes sense to do that. And one of the things that Philadelphia has done is they've tried to develop their convention business. You can just see in the distance, that's the convention center. And as I said, what we'll be just quickly taking a look at is the Masonic Temple. This is the Masonic Temple right here. And it's right next to City Hall. And as I said, this is City Hall. And as what I was saying earlier, we're just taking a tour around City Hall just for everyone to have a better idea of what City Hall is like. Now, what you're seeing in front of you too is a multi-year project to better allow people to use City Hall. Now, for many, many years, people used City Hall, but they didn't really think about the urban planning around City Hall because who really cares? And so here they're developing an ice skating rink and like different restaurants. And this has taken a number of years, and they're also improving the access to the subways. Of course, as I said, there's a north-south, east-west subway line, and then a regional line from here. and in Suburban Station, that's the Suburban Station. But they want to connect this area here and the subways that are around here with Suburban Station to make for a better access, and also, in addition to that, to provide a outdoor facility for people to use. So you can see how this they're doing a lot of work, and they're still doing a lot more work. But it's really a great job that they're doing. And Philadelphia is one of those cities that, like some of the other big cities, ended up going through an urban revival. And that's happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where all of a sudden people rediscovered Philadelphia. So what we're seeing here is a continuation of that urban revival, where people are feeling much safer in the city, and they're choosing to be in the city because from their perspective, it's nice just to be in the city. And here is famous Mayor Rizzo, statue of Mayor Rizzo. And like he had been mayor of Philadelphia for many, many years. And like he actually had a son here in Philadelphia that was a city council member. And but it's great the way you could have all this. And that's the Ritz-Carlton right there, you know, in front. And we'll just take another tour around, and we'll just go a little bit further south. So just to have like a better view of the western side of City Hall. And this is again just to show potential visitors what the city of Philadelphia is like. There's so much here to see, and of course one of the things that people really like to see are the Philadelphia, or to eat, is the Philadelphia cheesesteak. I think that can be a really good thing. So again, what we're seeing here is the construction of like an outdoor center, ice skating rink, information, public art, and that should be done probably by the end of this year. You could even see how it's almost done. You know, it's just a matter of time. You know, it's like a lot of work that was put into it. But again, that's just to encourage people to want to take more part in the city, and to play a more active role in the city, because that's not always easy to encourage people to want to be more in the city. So here, this is the City Hall, and that's the area we just walked by, right there. And you can see here, beautiful City Hall, beautiful area there. And again, that's the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, you know, where a lot of people like to stay. And now we're on the western side of the City Hall. So we had just traveled around, and this is where people make their connections for the subway. And they'll be able to catch the subway going east-west or north-south, and like a big plaza here. And they've done a really good job of using more space compared to the way it was before. And as I said, just to reiterate, in Philadelphia, what you have are a lot of the areas, a lot of the large buildings are on the west side. So the west, for example, 16th and Market, 17th and Market, 18th and Market, you would be reminded of a place being just like New York, because there's just so many buildings there. And during the business day, it's just as crowded as New York. And that's a very nice thing for people that like New York. So what happens too, because it's the same mindset for the people that are on the west side, 16th and Market, 17th and Market, 18th and Market, you go 3 blocks south of that area, you'll get to an area called Rittenhouse Square. And that's an area where a lot of people who like the big office building environment live in a dense high-rise area around a park, very reminiscent of how it would be to live in New York City. And so you have a lot of the same people who would have moved from New York, who choose to live in that area of the city, Rittenhouse Square, because it reminds them of New York. It's dense. Everyone is able to kind of live in a very nice, compact area. And then there's other people who choose to live in a different area. And so now we're going to just take a quick look at some of the other buildings here. You know, so it's like very nice. This is the area that I was telling you about, that has all the office towers. You can see all the office towers here. And on a busy weekday, like today, you know, you'll see a lot of the people walking around. And that makes for a very nice environment there. You can see here, everyone. So it's really nice. Like Philadelphia has made a big effort to try to encourage business and try to have people come into the city, and that's something important for the city of Philadelphia. So we'll just take another quick look around and just show you some of the buildings, show you around here. And this is on the west side, Market Street and 15th, and very close to Market and 16th. So there you go. That's municipal building again in the distance, and that's the municipal building right next to City Hall. And you can see here how it's just beautiful, all the people. And that construction is going to be for an ice skating rink, and also just to develop the exterior of City Hall to make it a lot more vibrant and a lot more people friendly.